All right, today we're tackling a fascinating riddle that connects some things you would never, ever expect to see in the same sentence. Get ready to have your mind bent just a little bit.
So, what is the connection, right? I mean, at first glance, that just seems impossible. You've got real world science on one hand, and then stories from ancient texts on the other. What single thread could possibly tie all of that together?
Okay, let's dive right in. Now, the answer to this whole puzzle, it's not buried in some dusty history book or an ancient scroll. Nope, it's hiding in a place you might not expect at all. That's right, it's in math, I know. But these totally random seeming things are all linked by one core mathematical idea. And it's just a perfect example of how numbers, they structure everything we understand, from the very real world around us to the worlds we just imagine. So, if we're gonna crack this code, we've got to look at a very special and honestly a pretty weird category of numbers. These guys, they are the absolute key to this whole puzzle. Okay, so let's meet our main character, the irrational number. We're used to numbers that are neat, tidy, but irrational numbers, they just refuse to be pinned down. You can't write them as a simple fraction, and their decimal form, oh, it's just pure, unending, patternless chaos. So, for example, take the square root of 2. It starts out simple enough, right? 1.414, but then it just keeps going. And those little dots at the end, super important. They mean it goes on forever, with absolutely no repeating pattern. Ever. And then there's the rock star of the irrational world, pi. Yeah, we all learned about it in school, but did you ever really stop and think about how weird this number is? 3.14159, and it just goes on and on and on. A completely infinite, totally unpredictable string of digits. Okay, so here's where you can really see the difference. Look at a rational number, like 1/3. Sure, its decimal goes on forever, but it's predictable. It's just threes over and over again. But then you look at an irrational number like pi. It's total chaos. There's no loop, there's no pattern, just brand new digits forever. All right, so now that we've got a handle on these crazy irrational numbers, let's go back and tackle the first part of our riddle. Let's talk about planet Earth. So our first clue from the source material was the circumference of the Earth. The big question is, how does that connect to these wild, chaotic numbers we've been talking about? Let's dig in. Okay, the logic here is actually pretty straightforward. It's just 3 steps. Step 1, we all know the formula for a circle's circumference, right? C equals 2 times pi times the radius. Step 2, we know the Earth's radius is roughly 6,371 kilometers. And step 3, and this is the absolute key, that little symbol, pi, is one of our irrational numbers. And here's the kicker. Because you have to multiply by pi, that endless, non-repeating string of digits, the final answer itself becomes an endless, non-repeating number. It's like the irrationality of pi just infects the whole calculation. This means the Earth's true exact circumference can never, ever be written down perfectly. It's an irrational number. How cool is that? Okay, so puzzle piece number 1 is solved. But to get the rest, we need to kind of zoom out. We need to look at the bigger picture, the whole universe where all these different numbers live. So we've got these 2 teams, right? The neat and tidy rational numbers and the chaotic, wild, irrational ones. What do you think happens when you throw them all together in one big pot? Do you just get more chaos? Well, surprisingly, no. You actually get order. You get something called the set of real numbers. And you can think of this as like the giant umbrella that covers every rational and every irrational number. It's the complete number line that we all know and love. And this is a really big family. It includes all the simple whole numbers, integers. It includes all the fractions. And of course, it includes our weird friends, the irrational numbers. They're all living together under one big roof called the real numbers. Okay, great. Now that we understand this whole real number family, we are finally ready. Let's solve the last 2 pieces of our puzzle. All right, clue number 2 from our source material, the giant Goliath. The text says he was 9 feet tall. So, what kind of number is 9? Well, the number 9 is just a simple integer. And you can write it as a fraction, right? 9/1. That makes it a rational number. And since it's rational, guess what? By definition, it's also a real number. See how it fits into the family? And for our last clue, we've got the New Jerusalem, with sides measuring 12,000 stadia. And just like the number 9, 12,000 is a nice, clean, rational number, which means, you guessed it, it also belongs to that big real number family.
Okay, let's put all our clues on the table. The Earth's circumference, that's irrational. Goliath's height and the city's size, those are rational. So they're different types of numbers, and yet they all share something really, really important. And there it is. That's the answer. The connection isn't some deep, mystical secret. It's actually something beautifully simple. They all share the same mathematical home. The one thing, the only thing that connects the actual circumference of our planet, the height of a legendary giant, and the size of a mythical city is that they are all real numbers. It just goes to show you that math is this incredible universal language that can describe not just the world we can touch, but also the worlds we can only dream of.
But that leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending thought. It's a proven mathematical fact that there are way more irrational numbers out there than rational ones. Infinitely more, in fact. So the chaotic numbers are actually the norm. So why is it that the world we build for ourselves, with our neat feet and meters and whole numbers, why does it all seem so very rational? Something to think about.